Hey guys, and welcome to another episode. So on today's episode, I'm going to detail my EP3 Civic Si. I feel kind of bad. I've had this car for just over a year now, and I haven't washed it a single time. It's not usually how I treat my cars, but I guess I've been kind of just using this as a commuter slash backup car, or as I like to tell my girlfriend, it's the loaner car when hers is broken. Referencing the movie The Mask, which she had never seen before I met her.
I have to have a car tonight.
Hey, yo! Bring around the loaner.
The loaner?
Anyways, I'm off on a tangent. I'm gonna do a pretty basic detail on this car. If you've watched my channels before, well, first off, I'm surprised that usually my detail videos do so well, because to me they seem kind of boring, but I'm glad people like watching them. But anyways, this one I'm gonna probably kind of do proportional to the value of the car and how much it needs. The paint's actually in pretty good shape on it, so I didn't end up having to do a correction on it. So I'm gonna do a pretty basic detail. I'm gonna do a wash, clay bar, seal it, and then I'll do the interior. If you've watched my detail videos in the past, you know I'm a pretty big proponent of using a steam cleaner, but actually the interior wasn't too bad. And again, just the time that I want to spend on this car based on how much it's worth. Yeah, this is about a 6-hour probably total detail, but I'm pretty happy with how the results came out. So with that, let's get to it. Here's a before walk around. The car's not too bad. Silver does a good job of hiding dirt and imperfections. I guess the biggest eyesore to me is just the lack of badges, which we're gonna correct during this. To start, I gave the car a foam cannon and just pressure washed the soap off to remove any surface contaminants without scrubbing. I then did a second foam cannon, scrubbed off the car with a mitt, and obviously removed the soap with a pressure washer. Next step, we're going to move on to clay barring the car to remove any deep bedding contaminants. So since this car hasn't been washed in so long, I'm going to go ahead and clay bar it to remove all the contaminants from the paint. It's kind of sad that the person who owned this car decided to touch up rock chips, but it almost looks like they didn't have the right color, or maybe it was just a cheap touch-up paint. But I'm just going to go over the whole car with the clay bar. Luckily, it doesn't look like there's too many swirls in the paint, so I don't think I'm actually going to have to do any correction. Also, this car being as cheap as it is, I'm not sure if it would be worth taking the time to do that. But we'll see. Once I get the paint a little bit more clean, I'll put a light to it at a 90-degree angle and see how the swirls are looking. Honestly, the best way to look for swirls, though, is in natural light. If you get any bug splatter like this that doesn't want to come out with the clay bar, I just like to use a little bit of Goo Gone. Let it sit in on here for a few minutes, and then it should just wipe off. Take a little bit of elbow grease, but it'll come off. Yeah, the stuff down there came right off. I'll come back at it with the clay bar, and hopefully we'll get the remaining bit. So a lot of people will rewash the car after they clay bar. I just like to use a 40% alcohol and a bunch of microfibers to clean it all off. The reason I do this is because I find when I rewash the car, I get a bunch of water spots that I just cleaned off while I was clay barring. So I like to do this because it doesn't leave any water spots in my history with it. One thing I'll point out with using the alcohol and the microfiber method is you will have to get a bunch of microfibers or keep folding it on itself, because eventually it will become saturated with the clay, and it won't be actually cleaning it off anymore. All right, so once you clean all the clay material off, the paint is in what I like to call the naked state. This is when you can look to see if you need to do a correction or not. So what I like to do is just get my drop light or whatever and try and shine the light at a 90-degree angle, and then look at the paint. And obviously this car, you can see, has been polished in the past because there's pretty much no swirls on it. Despite the fact that this hood looks pretty rough, it's taken the brunt of 200,000 miles of rock chips, but someone did actually care for the car and do a correction at one point or another. Same goes for the doors as well. You can see there's pretty much no swirling in it. Silver is hard to see anyways. Also, it felt really smooth too when you're clay barring it. You can actually tell how good condition the paint is in just by how easy it is to move the clay along the car. This car, it slid along, so I think It's definitely been corrected before. It might even have a ceramic coating on it. So don't need to do correction. So I'm just gonna move into replacing the badges and then sealing it. So starting in the summer when we were getting the 110-degree heat in Texas, I noticed that all my badges were starting to fall off. So obviously the SI badge is gone. The Civic badge is barely held on by anything. Normally remove this, I would use dental floss and a heat gun, but I think, yeah, obviously not necessary with how loose it is. So I have a new Civic badge, I have a new SI badge, I have a new badge for the front, but obviously you're gonna have to get this removed before we can replace the new badge. So again, I like to use the Goo Gone. Just give it a good soak. You're gonna have to re-clean this part of the car afterwards, so maybe this wasn't the best time to do it. But anyways, I'm gonna let that soak in for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna see what I can do with a plastic razor. And if that doesn't work, I have what's called an eraser wheel that will get rid of this. All right, so I got as much off as I could with the razor blade, but you can hear there's still some adhesive there. So I'm gonna get my magic eraser wheel and hit it with that, and it should come right off. All right, so this is the eraser wheel. It's made by 3M. I think I just bought it on Amazon. It's nothing too fancy. It literally just is kind of a soft abrasion material that heats up the adhesive and removes it. I use the Goo Gone to break it down as a lubricant. Drill has to be on high speed in order for this to work. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and clean the whole area I worked in with alcohol just to get all the Goo Gone and adhesive residue off here. Of course, there's still a couple tiny spots on the Civic badge that are going to annoy me. There, that should be good. All right, let those dry for a minute. I think it's pretty cool that you, in today's day and age, you can still buy brand new OEM Honda badges for a car from that was 20 years old and not a particularly high production run. I think this is probably pretty self-explanatory as far as how to do this, is just make sure the area is dry. I don't know, I guess I'll give it a minute just to be safe. Pretty sure the alcohol's dry, but. It's amazing how little things can make such a big difference, like having no badges or having no SI badge and just that old residue from the adhesive, then like half a Civic badge, it looks so much better. I guess I should have looked at the new piece before I started cleaning that, because it looks like this whole thing just clips into the grill. So this will be fun. Try and get this out of here without breaking it. So I tried being gentle, and of course I broke it, but I was able to pull this piece out afterwards, and it looks like the new one is going to be able to go in there. So I guess I'm just going to do the same thing for this one. just use deadly force. I did fatally damage the pin slightly, so I put a little bit of JB Weld plastic epoxy on the pin, so hopefully when it dries this will be solid. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the correct way is to do that or if it's even possible. I'm sure it's possible. Anything's possible. So despite breaking the clips, the JB Weld definitely did its job. That's not coming off there anytime soon. Yeah, looks much better again on the front too. So I guess I'll get to sealing the car. So for sealant, I'm gonna go with the trusty CarPro Reload. Pretty easy spray sealant to put on. Just apply it, give it 5 minutes. Apply it, wipe it in, and then give it 5 minutes to flash or harden, and then come back with a microfiber and wipe off the excess, polish it. All right, so it's been 5 minutes, so I'm gonna come in and just wipe off the excess. So some longer term viewers of mine will know that I'm a big proponent of steam cleaning for my interiors, but keeping with the theme of working proportionally to the value of the car and how dirty it is, I think I'm just going to spray down some interior cleaner. It doesn't look too bad, but hopefully this will help bring it up to that next level. And then I'll go ahead and put some Aerospace 303 protectant on everything. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and protect the interior with my Aerospace 303, which is my favorite interior protectant because it gives it like a, whatever, kind of a, I don't know, it gives it like a glossy look, but not overly oily like Armor All will. It gives it a satin finish. That was the word I was looking for. Not a gloss, but a satin. Alright, here's how the finished product looks on the interior. I think it looks pretty good for the amount of effort. I mean, yeah, I could have got out the steam cleaner and maybe I could have got some of this standing out in the seat. I'm not entirely sure. But, I mean, for the amount of time I put into it, I think it looks pretty good compared to how it was. So that's a wrap on this episode. I'll put out some pictures now of the car after the detail is complete. These are actually the pictures that I'll be using to list it. I'm not really sure if YouTube will let me do it, but if they do, I'll post a link to the Facebook Marketplace listing for the car, because if you've been watching the videos, you know I planned on selling this car, so that was actually why I was detailing it. But as you can see from the pictures, I'm pretty happy with how it came out. For about 6 hours of effort, it was definitely a pretty big step up from what it looked like before. Yeah, so I hope you guys liked this episode. As always, if you really liked it, please like and subscribe. Help out the channel grow more so I can share this content with more people. If you're interested in the car, I put a link, if it let me, to the Facebook Marketplace listing. If not, you can DM me on Instagram or TheFadShow at Gmail. I don't really check that often though, so the fastest way is probably Facebook or Instagram. So yeah, hope you guys like this, and I'll see you next time.